Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be doing my updated 2022 US House prediction. Again, this is, I think, the first time in 3 weeks I've done one of these, and this is my, I want to say, second to last ever House prediction for 2022. So we have a lot more news and a lot more information since last time, so we're going to have a very interesting House prediction ahead of us here. So before we get started, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. I'm putting, between now and election, I'll be putting out content every single day. So much is changing, you won't want to miss a thing. So please do hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notifications bell if you want to get notifications for every one of my videos. So as you can see here, I've already kind of assigned actually the majority of the House seats to one or more parties. I do want to take one of this off. But yeah, so the Democrats have 162 safe seats. These are seats that there's, no way they're going to lose. They're not really worth talking about. And the Republicans have 184 of those seats. These are seats that are, going to go red no matter what. And going to be, for all of these safe seats, going to be over 15% margins of victory for the respective parties. So the other seats, though, these 89 seats, some of them are, pretty much already decided, but others are pure toss-ups. But the thing they all have in common is that they're going to be within 15%, and that, parties will have like a greater than 1% chance of winning them. So it doesn't mean that some of these seats are necessarily like toss-ups or even that competitive, but they are worth it if not really talking about much. It's worth to briefly analyze them. So let's get into it here. We're going to do this in alphabetical order. Alabama, nothing going on there. All safe seats. Alaska, that's going to be interesting. Alaska, the Democrat Mary Peltola won a special election here in August, and she did this by essentially it was her versus two Republicans, Sarah Palin and Nick Begich, and she got 40% of the vote in the first round, and then Begich came in third place, so they reallocated his votes, and Peltola got just enough of the Begich votes to win the election via ranked choice voting. She won by about 3%, and she's been surging in the polls for this November election. She's become so popular. She's trying to build I want to say, a bipartisan brand for herself in a red state like Alaska. And Palin is just more unpopular than ever. And so when you look at the electorate that's going to show up in November, it's likely not going to be one that produces a Begich versus Peltola election. I think it'll be a Palin Peltola rematch, with Peltola winning a lot of those Begich voters on their second vote. And so I think that this race to me is pretty clearly at lean D right now. Peltola is a clear favorite. She's been had in every poll, and she's even beating Nick Begich in most of the polls, who's supposedly the stronger GOP candidate. But either way, Alaska's a red state. I could totally see it, reverting back to Palin or Begich, but Peltola seems to be favored at this point in time. Arizona, we have a lot of seats to talk about here. So the first is Arizona 2, which was basically a safe GOP pickup for a while, but we did get one internal from the GOP that only had them up by one, and the Republicans have been, really worried about the seat. They've been spending a lot of money here. They've been, really trying to knock off Tom O'Halloran. So, the way that they've been investing in the seat make it seem like it's more of a toss-up to tilt our seat. That being said, this is still a Trump-less state. I still think the polls are going to underestimate Republicans a lot here, and I wouldn't really bet on it being close. Arizona 6, this is a Biden plus 0.3 seed, very, very contested in 2020. As you can see, it was basically just a 50-50 split in 2020 with an incumbent Democrat who was retiring. It's now an open seat, and that doesn't really bode well for Democrats. It's left trending, so I could see them holding on to it, but it's very marginal. And at this point in time, I think it's pretty clear the Republicans are favored, especially because they have a good candidate in Juan Ciscomani, who, is going to likely make inroads with Hispanic voters for the GOP. Now, the other lean R seat here is Arizona 1, and I could see the case for being a toss-up. I think it's closer to toss-up than likely, because it is, after all, a Biden plus 1.5 seat, and David Schweikert, the Republican incumbent here, is not particularly popular. That being said, it is still more Republican down ballot, and I would expect, I think Kari Lake might narrowly carry it because it is more Republican down ballot, and so I think that's going to help David Schweikert, especially against Jevin Hodge, who is, he's a decent candidate, but I don't think he's strong enough to win a seat like this. Finally, you have Arizona. For this seat, I originally had as a toss-up very early on, but it's, the Democrats have taken the lead here. This is a Biden plus 11 seat. It was always, Democratic leaning, but Greg Stanton's a really good incumbent, and he's been doing very well as of late. But again, out of Arizona, Republicans have already picked up 2 seats. That's the 2nd district and the 6th district. So very good result for Republicans out of Arizona. Arkansas, nothing much going on there, but in California, there's a lot. So we'll start from the bottom here. San Diego, not much to say there, but in the LA area, there's a lot to talk about. So the 49th and 47th are both likely D at this point. These are double-digit Biden seats. If you take a look at, how they voted, they have Democratic incumbents. Porter seat, Biden plus 12, Levin seat, Biden plus 11. Again, they're incumbents. Porter has a massive war chest. Both of them did very well in the, in the primary. And so when you take a look at, these races, I just don't really see the path to GOP here. Like, it exists, but it's a very slim path. And after they got a pretty bad result in the primary, I don't see them flipping either of these seats. Now, the caveat to that is Ken Calvert's Trump plus 2 seat, I believe. Trump plus 1 seat. So Calvert's seat is really interesting because the Democrats did very well there in the primary. Will Rawlins, the Democratic candidate, is, from Palm Springs. He's very well known in the seat. He's a good recruit. And the thing is, Ken Calvert is a decent incumbent. He did outrun Trump in 2020, but he didn't outrun him by a ton. And, you could argue that it actually wasn't that good of a showing because the seat is more Republican down ballot. Now, I'm pretty high on Ken Calvert's chances of re-election. If you take a look at the seat, the way it's trending, it is left trending, but I don't think it's left trending enough to flip, especially in a year like this where Democratic gains are going to be kind of neutralized by a lot of generic midterm effects. And so Calvert has a chance to lose. I think Rawlins is putting up a good fight, but at the end of the day, it's a Trump plus 1 seat. Democrats haven't really invested in a ton, and it's, I don't really think Republicans, what I've been hearing, are too concerned about it either. So I think Calvert's going to be fine. I think he'll win by, 5 or 6%. California 40 and 41 are interesting. So, 45. So California 40, Young Kim seat put for Biden by 2. That's going to be pretty solid for her. Again, she's a good incumbent. It's only a Biden plus 2 seat. I think she'll be fine here. She has a lot of crossover appeal. But California 45 is interesting because Michelle Steele is a pretty right-wing incumbent. And yes, Jay Chad is not a good opponent at all for her, but it's still a Biden plus 6 seat. And so out of caution, I'll put it as Lenar. I could see it being likely, on election day. That would not surprise me, but I think out of an abundance of caution, I'll put it as Lenar. So that's LA. Republicans maintaining their seats, Democrats maintaining their seats, but we haven't gotten to the 27th yet. This is Mike Garcia's seat. Again, Mike Garcia is the Republican incumbent in a Biden plus 13 seat. If you take a look at California 27, just under Biden plus 13, and he has an interesting voting record. So originally it looked like he was going to be a very right-wing member of Congress. He voted to overturn the election, and he voted, basically against everything Joe Biden did. But since then, he's kind of taken a pivot. He voted in favor of codifying gay marriage, and he's someone who I think is trying to appeal to a seat that's different from him politically. And that vote to me is enough to make me think that he's going to lose by about 2 or 3%. This is a Biden plus 13 seat. The abortion referendum on the ballot in California really hurts Garcia. And again, left trending, Dobbs decision, all of those factors make it hard for him to kind of dance around this issue of abortion. And Christy Smith, she's not exactly the best challenger, but I think from what I've been hearing, she's been running a much better campaign than she did in the special election or the general election back in 2020. So I think that the third time will be the charm for Christy Smith. I think she'll knock off Mike Garcia. So David Valadao is another income Republican. I think is going to get knocked off. He's in a Biden plus 13 seat. This is, I think, the bluest seat a Republican is, contested. Is actually running for re-election. And the thing with California 22 is that it is interesting because it's a right-trending seat, but unlike most right-trending seats, it's actually more Republican down ballot. And what that means is that Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, they all won the seat by double digits at the presidential level. But at the House level, it's been Republican, I think, since 2010. And the only time it actually went blue was from 2018 to 2020. But again, it flipped back in 2020, so it doesn't really matter. And, David Valadao is a good incumbent. I think he's going to put up a strong fight. But the issue for him is that his seat got 2% blue, or he did not do particularly well in the primary. There are a lot of Democrats, Hispanic voters who are going to come out more now because of the Dobbs decision. And Rudy Salas, the Democratic opponent, is a very good challenger. He outperformed Biden by like 12% in his state assembly seat, and he's a very strong incumbent in his seat. And it's, he's well known in the area. I think he'll be a good challenger, and I think he'll beat Valadao. Now, California 13, I think this is lean deed. It's bordering on likely either. There was a bit of hype about it for a bit, but it's still a Biden plus 11 seat. And honestly, I could see it being likely as well. I don't want to cause too much attention to it. Same with California 9. This is a Josh Hart, the incumbent Democrat, Biden plus 13 seat. He'll be fine here. California 3, this is a likely RC, but I think it's going to be a toss-up in 2024. It's very right, very left trending. It's only Trump plus 2, and there's no incumbent, although it's likely by 2024, Kevin Kiley will be the Republican incumbent here. He's a state senator. He's a good candidate. I think he will, win this district. Colorado. First of all, Lauren Boebert's seat is only Trump plus, let me see. It's only Trump plus 8. And I do think she'll win by a little more than Trump, but Jared Polis will do very well here at the top of the ticket for Democrats. So I think she wins by under 15% this year. Colorado 7, that's, again, this is like a Biden plus 16 seat, I want to say. Yeah, Biden plus 15. he'll probably win re-election by upwards of 10. Then Colorado 8. Colorado 8 is going to be very close. I think this is like the tipping point seat. I think that, whoever wins Colorado 8 has like a good chance of winning the House. I think it's going to narrowly a Republican. Again, it's only Biden plus 4.5. And the Republican Barbara Kirk-Myers led most of the polls here. And, Joe Day, the Republican Senate candidate, I think is going to carry it, even though it'll probably vote for Jared Polis at the gubernatorial level. So, end of the day, I think it's narrowly votes Republican, but it's going to be very close. And I think whoever wins this could have a better chance of winning the House. So again, Republicans nearing 200. Connecticut's gotten a weird amount of attention because there are like 2 Biden plus 10 and 11 seats. I don't think either of these seats can be too close. Again, they have Democratic incumbents. Connecticut, like in 2018, the Republicans did really well here. Like they only lost the governor's race by 3%, and they did pretty well on the generic ballot. Even then, they couldn't win these seats. So I'd have a hard time seeing them flipping towards the Republicans. Florida, I don't really think there's too much to say here. All these seats, like a lot of these seats, just likely are seats. Like Florida's, like all of these blank seats, are just likely Republican. I also think that I think is it the 4th or the 5th? Let me see. It's the 4th district is Trump plus 6. It's right trending, so I think it'll be under 15. But all of these seats are like marginal Trump seats. I think they're all going to vote for Republicans by between 5 and 15%. There's not too much analysis to do here. It's a very gerrymandered map. It's like very non-competitive because the Republicans drew themselves like marginal seats that probably won't flip anytime soon, and they drew all the Democrats into super safe pack seats. So yeah, Republicans are going to do pretty well in Florida this year. They're probably win all those contested seats. Georgia, only one truly contested seat here, but it's not even that close. That's the second district. This is I think, a plurality black seat in the South, and I think it'll be competitive once Sanford Bishop, the Democratic incumbent, retires, but he's a big overperformer, and he does very well here, so I don't think he'll lose, especially not this election with Warnock and Abrams on the ballot. Illinois, got some interesting seats here, but, first of all these Chicagoland seats, these are just suburban. We have Sean Casten, Bill Foster, and Lauren Underwood. These are all, a double-digit Biden seats if you take a look. Casten's in a Biden plus 11, Foster's in a Biden plus 15. Underwood's in a Biden plus 12. These are all, kind of the reverse Florida. They could be contested, but not really because they're gerrymandered. Illinois, 13, though, similar. It's a gerrymandered seat. It's a Biden plus, Biden plus 11 seat. No, like, the Democrats are running Nikki, I think it's Budzinski, and she's a good candidate, and she's been able to kind of close out the race here. Last week, we got news that both the Democrats and Republicans are pulling out of this media market, which means that they basically think it's a wrap. So I think at this point, it's pretty safe to call, Budzinski the clear favorite at this point. She's kind of closed the deal here, I'd say. Then Illinois 17. This is going to be really close, but I think it's going to go Democratic. And originally, I thought it was going to go Republican, but I've changed my opinion on that. It's a Biden plus 8 seat, and yes, there's no Democratic incumbent here, and yes, I think you could say that the Republican candidates have higher quality than the Democratic candidate. But at the end of the day, it's a lot more Democratic down ballot, and I do think Pritzker and Duckworth are going to win it. And also, like, it is a right trending seat for sure, and I think it could flip in the next, red wave year, absolutely. But the issue for Republicans here is that it's not like some seats are like crazy right trending, like some of your South Florida seats, your South Texas seats, right? But this seat, it's not particularly right trending. Like it doesn't move to the like 7 points to the right every election, or double digits to the right every election, the way some of those seats in Texas do. So, I think if it were more right trending, I could see it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it'll move too much, or because it's still a Biden plus 8 seat. I don't think it'll move away from the Democrats enough. Now, Indiana 1. This is a fascinating seat. It's going to be really, really close. And I did not hold that opinion last video, but something changed between last video and now. And what changed was the Democratic incumbent here, Frank Mervyn, had a scandal where he tried to investigate his opponent, Jennifer Ruth Green, her military background. And he actually, he was looking for dirt, but he actually uncovered some more stuff that I'm not going to be talking about here. But like, it was not dirt. It was actually some sad stuff, some stuff that isn't, that wouldn't affect her in a negative way. And so that's a really bad look for the Mervyn campaign. And Jennifer Ruth Green's been, like the Republicans have been really making a play of this seat as of late. I think they see a lot of opportunity here, especially because Mervyn, yes, he's a good incumbent, but it's, to me, like at this point, it's become pretty clear to me that he wasn't really prepared to run a competitive race. And so this is my upset pick. I think a lot of these other seats in the Midwest are going to stay blue, but Indiana 1, I think, is going to very, very narrowly flip to Jennifer Ruth Green. Again, bit of a upset pick, and I know it might be confusing because I have a lot of these other Midwestern seats staying blue, but like every year there's kind of like that one seat that kind of just differentiates from the seats surrounding it, and I think is going to be Indiana 1 this year. Again, Jennifer Ruth Green, good candidate, and Frank Mervyn has just run a very bad campaign thus far. Iowa, these two seats these are marginal Trump seats. They voted for Trump by 3% and 5%. They're going to be fine for the GOP. Iowa 3. Cindy Axne's a good incumbent, but like Zach Nunn's a good challenger, and he's been really hammering her on the issues that matter. Again, this is a seat where the Republicans shouldn't really be talking about abortion. That's they've kind of been avoiding that, which is smart by Zach Nunn. Again, he's a state senator. I think he knows what he's doing here, and he's really been tying Axne to Biden and to the National Democrats, who again are not really popular in this seat. This is a seat that voted for Trump but voted for the Democrats down ballot, and I think yes, Axne will probably outrun Franken and DeGier, who are the Democratic senatorial and gubernatorial candidates, but I don't think it'll be enough, and I think she'll go down by 2 or 3%. She's also like tied in her own internals, and like this is a seat where polls always underestimate Republican support, so that's like really, really bad for her. So I think, yes, she has a cash advantage. Yes, she's a good incumbent who did win a Trump seat in 2020, but at the end of the day, it's still Iowa. It's still a seat where I think the polls are going to underestimate her opponent, and I think the seat flips red. Kansas, though, I think Kansas 3 is going to go blue by, but 2%. I want to say, Sharice Davids is a good incumbent, first of all, and secondly, Amanda Adkins, her opponent, is like does not have enough money to pull this off. Quite frankly, like Davids is a well-known incumbent who has a lot of money to spend, and she has been spending and blitzing the airwaves, but like. To win a seat like this as a Republican, you have to like differentiate yourself as a moderate, because like this seat literally moved, I think, 12% to the left between 2016 and 2020. Is one of the most pro-choice, one of the most left-trending seats. And by the way, Laura Kelly at the top of the ticket is going to boost Democrats here because she's going to win it by a ton, because she will, yes, I think Laura Kelly's going to lose statewide, but obviously she'll outperform Biden by like a lot, and she'll probably win the 3rd district, and she might even win the 2nd district if she does really well statewide. And so that's going to be enough to boost Davids at this point, I think, especially because it voted for like the pro-choice side of the referendum by 31%. Yeah, it's going to get hard to see a Republican winning it in a year like this where we just had the Dobbs decision. Maine's up next. Maine, look, I don't really know what to say about Maine. I think that I'll still have Golden losing, and I think I won't change that before Election Day, but like realistically, he could totally pull it off. He's a really good incumbent. He's super unpredictable. I've underestimated him in the past, believe me. And Bruce Poliquin, the GOP opponent here, is not good. That being said, it's still a Trump plus 6 seat. Polarization really does hurt Golden here, and the Republicans, I think, are actually going to try to beat him a lot more than they did last time, because last time they kind of gave up, and Golden still did underperform his polls. So, he'll get some Republican ticket splitting, but at the end of the day, candidate quality still, I think, is just hard to win a seat as Republican as this. Like if this were a Republican incumbent, it'll probably be safe Republican, but it's lean Republican because Golden's a very good Democrat here. Maryland 6. This is likely D. David Trone. At this point, seems pretty safe. Had the Republicans ran Matt Foldy, who was again, I think, a better candidate than Neil Parrott, who lost the seat in 2020. I think it would have voted down to lean Democratic, but it's a Biden plus 10 seat. Trone has a ton of money. He's very wealthy. He's been like lining himself millions of dollars to spend. Parrott has like no money because he wasted all in the primary. Not looking too good for the Republicans here. And also, like, they're running Dan Cox statewide, who's going to get demolished. Like, if the Republicans ran Kelly Schulz, I could have seen it, because Kelly Schulz probably would not have won, but she would have like done like decently well for a Republican statewide. Dan Cox is just very right wing, very disliked in Maryland, so that's going to really kill any Republican prospects in Maryland this year. Michigan got a lot of seats here. So the first I want to talk about is Michigan 4. It's likely Republican again, but it is only Trump plus. I think it's only Trump plus 4. So I think in the future it's going to be a bit more competitive. But again, unless Democrats have like a really good turnout from the city of Kalamazoo, I don't think it flips. Michigan 3 though, this is a flip for Democrats though, and I think it's less likely than toss-up at this point in time. The Republicans are running a very right-wing candidate in John Gibbs. Again, John Gibbs beat out Peter Meyer in the Republican primary by only 4%, despite having all the key endorsements. He's not really that strong of a campaigner. In addition to that, John Gibbs is, very, quite frankly, he's just not a good candidate for this seat because, again, I think it's in the 2000s, he ran a think tank that, believed women shouldn't have the right to vote or the right to leave the house and work independently. And also, he's said things like Democrats eat babies, and he's just kind of fallen into the conspiracy theory pipeline, and that really hurts in a seat like this. It's a moderate seat. It's Biden plus 8. Does not have a ton of appeal to the region. So at the end of the day, I think he goes down to Hillary Shilton by about 4 to 5%. Michigan 8, similar. I think, originally actually had Dan Kildee losing, but Paul John Gay is just a terrible candidate. It's it's a Biden +2 seat, which is in theory promising for the Republicans, but it's a lot more Democratic down ballot, and Gretchen Whitmer's probably going to win it by like upwards of 6% this year. And like also, by the way, Whitmer might even win the 4th district. Like I think she'll win the 3rd, she'll win the 7th, she'll win the 8th, she'll probably win the 10th as well. She might even win the 4th because she's going to win by like over 5% statewide. So she'll probably outrun Biden by at least 2 or 3%. And so Michigan 8, Democrats. And by the way, there will be a uniform shift to Democrats in Michigan because of the abortion referendum, because of Whitmer being at the top of the tickets. Like they're boosting every single one of these seats. Like that includes Michigan 3, Michigan 8, Michigan 10, Michigan 7. But like Michigan 8 especially is one of the seats that is right trending, but is also quite pro-choice. And so Kildee, good incumbent, ton of money here. Paul Jungay lost the Trump seat in 2020. I think he goes down again. And Kildee wins by maybe 2-3%. Michigan 7. This is Tildy. Slotkin is a very good incumbent. She has so much money. Like she's gonna outspend her opponent, Tom Barrett, like 25 to 1. In all honesty, which really helps her. And also, by the way, Tom Barrett, not a good challenger. He's a state representative from the region, but at the end of the day, I think he sponsored anti-choice legislation, which is not going to go down well in this district. And also, he has just not been able to rake in any money to try to oust Slotkin. And I think at this point it's pretty clear Slotkin's the favorite. Now, Michigan 10. This is a seat I think that Democrats have. This is like the only Trump seat that is currently held by, or that is currently not held by a Democrat. That I think the Republican that I think has a chance of going blue. The Democrats have a good candidate here. Carl Marlinga is a countywide official in Macomb County. He's a good incumbent. He's someone, he's not a good incumbent. He's a good challenger to John James, who, by the way, actually lost the seat in 2020. A lot of people don't know this, but James in the Senate run actually lost the seat to Peters by about a point. So, in theory, James would need to win over some Gary Peters voters from last time to win. That being said, it's a right trending seat. Or it's not super it's not super right trending, but like it's not left trending enough to the point where it would like counteract a general national environment swing. So I think, unless it suddenly like slams left wing, I don't really think it's gonna flip. I don't think it's gonna go blue. This will be a Republican win here. John James, still a good candidate. He has a lot more money than Marlinga, and I want to be consistent here because I do think money matters, and I think, for the same reason Slotkin's favored in the 7th, I think James is favored in the 10th, even though they're going to be close. Minnesota's up next. Minnesota 1 is likely again, the Democrat came within 4 points of winning in the special election, but I think the general election is going to be, a lot closer to this margin of victory. I think it'll be high single digits here. Minnesota 2, though, this one's lean D. So unfortunately, the Green Party, or the Legal Marijuana Now Party candidate, passed away, I think, 2 weeks ago, which is really strange because it's like the second time it's happened in the past 2 years, which is really creepy. So do not run as a legal marijuana now party candidate in the seat because they have really bad luck running here. But anyways, Angie Craig's going up against Tyler Kistner. The Republicans, I think, have been trying to beat Craig's for a bit, and I don't think they're giving up on it now, but it's really clear that like they have better pickup opportunities, and I think that most Republicans kind of accepted that Craig is favored to win re-election. This is a Biden +7 seat. Tim Walz is going to win it by a lot at the top of the ticket, and yes, it is more Republican down ballot, but the Dobbs decision really kills like any ability of that to like actually translate. So I think this is another lean D hold here. Let's go down Mississippi. Missouri, no, nothing going on there. Montana, there's only one seat here that's really competitive, but it's still a Trump +7 seat. I think it's going to go to Ryan Zinke by about 10%. It is trending left, so I think in like the next blue wave, whether it be 2026 or 2028, I think it could flip, but for now it's likely are. Nebraska 1's, by the way, going to be under 15%. It's only a Trump +11 seat. The Democrat came within 7 points of winning in the special election, even back in June. So I think, and also, by the way, Patty Pansing Brooks is running again in this seat. So I think she's going to do very well because she's a good candidate for the Democrats. So Mike Flood is not, particularly popular here. Nebraska 2 is really, really interesting. And I go back between tilt and lean. I'm going to keep it as lean just to be, a bit more bullish on the incumbency here. Like this is a Biden +6 seat. Tony Vargas is a good candidate, and Don Bacon's really pivoted to the right. And he's actually, said he's in favor of a personhood amendment, which was very surprising because, again, personhood amendment is even, is so unpopular, like most Republicans even oppose it. Even the most anti-choice Republicans still oppose a personhood amendment, and Don Bacon's supporting it because I think he's like extremely anti-choice. I don't know why that is. I think it's politically not a very smart move for him in terms of re-election, but he'll still probably win. the seat is still a lot more Republican down ballot. He still outran Trump by like 10% in 2020. So I think he'll be fine. But in 2024, I think he will actually lose re-election here. Nevada, all seats are blank here, meaning that all these seats will be under 15%. But, there's one clear outlier here. It's the 2nd district here. Marco Modi's the Republican incumbent. This is a Trump plus 11 seat. And Modi's a good incumbent. I think he'll win by just under 15, but out of an abundance of caution, and just because I think Nevada doesn't really swing a ton in these elections, I think it's going to narrowly be under that 15% margin. Although, again, I could see it being safe. But either way, just want to be cautious here. Nevada 4 and Nevada 4 and 1 are interesting because these are like pretty Democratic leaning seats. Again, this one, Nevada 4 Horsford voted for Biden by 8, and Nevada 1 voted for Biden by 9. But the thing is, the Republicans, I think that they have a better chance of winning Nevada 1 than they do Nevada 4, because they've they've kind of pulled out of Nevada 4 at this point, and I think that is pretty significant because again, in a red wave midterm, or the red wave midterm people have been talking about, Nevada 4 should be a pure toss up, but it's not. It's a Biden plus 8 seat. I think at this point it's pretty clear it's going to go blue, especially with Cortez, Masto, and Sisolak on the ballot. Will help Democrats not totally get leveled here. Then Nevada 3 is a pure toss up. I literally go back and forth in it. I'm going to have it as tilt D here just because it's Biden plus 7. I don't think it's going to swing enough, but I think it's going to be within a point either way. So literally pure toss up. If I get it wrong, I will not be surprised at all. New Hampshire. New Hampshire 2 is likely D. New Hampshire, these are pretty clearly at likely a lean D seats. So New Hampshire 2 with Custer's Biden plus 9. Bob Burns kind of getting abandoned by the GOP here again. The Republicans triaged a bunch of seats in the past few weeks, and Bob Burns is one of them. It's pretty clear they don't really think they can beat Custer. She's in a Biden plus 9 seat. Hasn't going to win at the top of the ticket. I think she'll likely be fine here. Chris Pappas was originally a toss-up, but Caroline Leavitt's a really bad candidate. She's a very right-wing. She is. To win a state to win any region of New England as a Republican, you have to be like an Alan Fung or a Chris Sununu type Republican who, yes, can be conservative, but is still not super Trumpy, super right-wing, super, the election was stolen, to win in these places. And Leavitt just does not have that appeal. She is a right-wing, pro-Trump Republican. And yes, that's going to work out well for you in some parts of the country. But in New Hampshire, one which is a Biden plus 6 seat, very socially liberal, very left-trending seat, Democratic incumbent, don't think it's going to work out too well. So I think Chris Pappas holds on by about 3 to 4% in this seat, especially with Hassan on the ballot. New Jersey, a few seats to talk about here. New Jersey 3, Andy Kim, he'll win re-election just fine. Same with Josh Gottheimer in the 5th district. These are both double-digit Biden seats. Again, Gottheimer's in a Biden plus 13, Kim's in a Biden plus 15. Actually, Kim might actually be safe because he actually won a Trump seat in 2020, and he got shored up. So I think, at this point, I don't think it's going to be even particularly close. It's Biden plus 15. And then, by the way, New Jersey 2 won't actually be competitive, or Democrats don't think they can win it, but I think it'll be below 15. Now, New Jersey 7, this is interesting. Tom Malinowski versus Tom Keene. So on the surface, it looks really bad for Tom Malinowski. It is a Biden plus 4 seat. Tom Keene is a great candidate for the Republicans. And in 2020, Malinowski underperformed Biden by 9%. So if he does that again, he'd lose by 4 or 5%. Now, the one thing Malinowski has going for him is that he is a very strong incumbent in terms of money. He has a ton of money to spend here. He's been outraising Keene massively, and the seat is trending left, and the Dobbs decision does kind of help Malinowski's chances. And Democrats, by the way, like Pat Ryan and Mary Peltola won their special elections in much more Republican-leaning seats. So this is a path for Malinowski. That being said, Keene's a good candidate, and this is a seat that's more Republican down ballot. I do think he's going to win by about 3 to 4%. New Mexico 1 and 3 are going to be, I think, likely D. These are Biden plus 15, Biden plus 10 seats. I don't really think they're going to be too interesting though. But New Mexico 2 is be interesting. So originally I was pretty skeptical of Democratic chances here, but I've kind of been going back and forth on it. I do think Yvette Herschel is going to win, but it's only going to be by about a point. It's still a Biden plus 6 seat. It hasn't really moved a ton. And yes, Gabriel Vasquez is a very left-wing candidate who I think doesn't really have a ton of appeal to the seat. But at the end of the day, it's still a Biden plus 6 seat. It still gives him a chance here. And also, it is more Democratic down ballot. And Herschel underperformed Trump by 5% in 2020. So she's not, the great, she's not the greatest incumbent. So I think she'll be, in a tougher race than some people are expecting here. New York, we have a lot of seats to get into here. So let's start with Long Island. These are, by the way, New York 1 and 2 are interesting because they are both very marginal seats that are basically likely are. Again, Lee Zeldin's running for governor, so it's an open seat with Bridget Fleming and Nicholas Lalota. I do think that it could be lean, but I'll put it as likely Actually, you know what? I'll put it as lean. I have an abundance of caution here because I think Zeldin's going to do very. I don't know because Zeldin's going to do very well at the top of the ticket for the Republican Party, but it is an open seat, so I could see it being lean. But I'll put it as likely here because I am pretty bullish on Zeldin and Long Island. Then Tom Suozzi, who ran for governor against Kathy Hochul and got demolished in the primaries, leaving an open seat. He should have just ran for re-election to see because he would have probably won. Now a more competitive seat. That being said, the Republicans have not really expressed too much support for Santos, and I think with them leaving him out to dry, I think he'll do fairly well here. Although again, there's by the way, there's a real chance that Lee Zeldin wins this seat in the governor's race, but goes down. But George Santos goes down in the House race. Kathleen Rice, Biden plus 15 seat. I think she's going to be fine here. I haven't really spent too much time, looking at this race because it's Biden plus 15 seat, but I think it's going to be fairly safe. New York 11. This is this is Staten Island seat. It's a Trump plus 7 seat, and yes, Max Rose is a good candidate for the Republicans or for the Democrats, but Nicole Maliotakis is a fairly popular incumbent. She knocked off Rose in 2020 back when Rose won. And, so Rose actually won the seat in the 2018 blue wave. He got knocked off by Maliotakis in 2020 and is not running again. It's a Trump plus 7 seat, same partisanship, same thing. I think it goes down by a similar amount. New York 17, Sean Patrick Maloney. He is running in this Biden plus 10 seat. I think he's going to win, although I think he'll underperform Biden by a few points here. He's not, necessarily the best incumbent, but he is, going to win. New York 18, Pat Ryan, Biden plus 8.5 seat. Pat Ryan's a good incumbent. He won a Biden plus 1 seat in the special election right here. And the best thing about this seat for him is that it has Ulster County. Again, Ulster County is his home base. It's, right in the center of this seat. And it, really, he actually underperformed Biden in Dutchess County, which is Mark Molinaro's home county, because Molinaro was from there. He had a good base there. He outran Trump by, I think, 6-7% there. But he won because he got a very good turnout of Ulster. He outran Biden by a lot in Ulster County. He's very popular in Ulster County. And so I think, in a district like this, Biden plus 8.5, I think he's going to be fine. Even though Lee Zeldin has a decent chance of winning it in the governor's race, I do think that it won't be enough to knock off Pat Ryan, especially against kind of a no-name GOP candidate here. Again, Colin Schmidt, not really, too popular here. So I think he's going to be fine. Now, these two are toss-ups, and I think they're going to split. So I think 22 is going to, 19 is going to vote Democrat, 22 is going to vote Republican. And, I think like if you know the partisanship of these seats, this might be surprising because, again, New York 19 is a seat that voted for Biden by 5%, but New York 22 is a seat that voted for Biden by 7.5%. So you might be thinking, well, shouldn't it be the other way around because one seat's bluer than the other? Here's the thing. New York 22 is a lot more Republican down ballot than New York 19. And also Democrats need here's the thing. Sorry, I said that twice in a row, but New York, to win a seat like New York 23 or New York 22, I cannot talk. This is very frustrating. To win a seat like New York 22 as a Democrat, you have to have a good candidate and a high turnout from the city of Syracuse. They have neither of those things this November. Additionally, Lee Zeldin will be at the top of the ticket for Republicans. And yes, he will probably not win statewide. He probably won't even come close. But he will boost Republican turnout in all of these seats by running, he's been running a decent campaign so far against Kathy Hochul. I do think he'll boost Republican turnout just enough to beat Francis Cannoli here for the Republicans. Again, it's an open seat. Brandon Williams has been leading in the polls here. In fairness, for House seats, we only have a few polls, but he's been winning both of them. And Francis Cannoli had a very bad primary showing, so I do think that that this seat's going to stay ready, even though Katko is retiring. But New York 19, it's a Biden plus 5 seat, so in theory it could be a toss-up or it could be a lean Republican seat. And yes, Mark Molinaro is running here. He's a good candidate for the GOP. But Molinaro, by the way, lost a Biden plus 1 House seat. He underperformed Trump by 1%. And the worst thing about this is that, yes, his new seat is going to be 4% bluer, but it doesn't have Dutchess County. Dutchess County is right here. It is in the Pat Ryan seat. And so Molinaro's only big overperformance came from Dutchess County because, again, that's where he's from. That's where his home base is. And it's now not even he doesn't even live in his new district. So I think he's kind of in a rock between a hard place here because he couldn't run in the 18th against Pat Ryan because he would have gotten crushed there because it's a Biden plus 8 seat. So he had to run in the more competitive seat. But even then, he doesn't have his home county. And, this seat includes the city of Ithaca, which is, Cornell University, which turned out massively for that special election, by the way, where the Democrats outperformed Biden by 5%. And, the seat's a left-running seat. It's a seat that voted for Trump in 2016, but voted for Biden in 2020. I think all of that combined gets you a very narrow Democratic victory, even though Mark Molinaro could, in theory, hold on to it. North Carolina, I do want to say, I think the 14th would be likely D. And then some of these other seats, the 6th is Biden plus 13. The 1st is Biden plus 9. I think the 1st is actually going to be lean D. I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on Democrats in North Carolina this year. I don't think Sherry Bees is going to win, but I think she's going to do a little better than people think, and I think Black Trump's going to be a little higher than people think. I do want to, by the way, this seat could totally move down to even a toss-up if the early vote data looks grim for Democrats and Black voters here. But that being said, I think for now I'm still pretty bullish on them, and I think it's a Biden plus 9 seat. I think they won it by 5 or 6%. North Carolina 13, though, I think at this point is pretty clearly a tilt Republican race. Like, yes, it's a Biden plus 2 seat, but Bo Hines is a decent candidate here for the Republicans, and Sherry Beasley might win at the top of the ticket. And actually, I think it's a pure toss-up for like the Bud versus Beasley race, but it's a bit more Republican down ballot because it's a bit more suburban. So I think 13th district can narrowly stay red. By the way, Republicans are nearing a majority here. They're at 214. Let's go to Ohio. A lot of competitive seats here. So first of all, like, to me, there are two toss-ups I think are pretty clearly leading in one direction. Ohio 13 voted for Biden by about 3%. So yes, it is a seat that is promising for Democrats because it doesn't have a Republican incumbent. And yes, Amelia Sykes is a state senator from the Akron region, and she's a better candidate than Madison Gilbert is for the GOP. Or not Madison Gilbert, Madison Shadow. I think her last name is Gilbert, but she goes by Deshato. I don't really know. I think it might be her maiden name or something. Either way, Biden plus 3 seat, and yes, Amelia Sykes is a good candidate here, and she will probably juice turnout from Akron more than it would have otherwise been. That being said, is a right trending seat. Tim Ryan's going to win at the top of the ticket, but so is Mike DeWine, and I think it's going to be kind of a split result. And also, like, to win a seat like this, Democrats have to do it in a presidential year because of Akron turnout. And yes, it won't be as bad as it could have been, but I don't think that Amelia Sykes will be able to fix all the problems here. So I think, Ohio 13 will narrowly vote Republican, but it'll mostly because of turnout. On the other hand, though, Ohio 1 is interesting because Steve Cabot's the incumbent here, and in theory, he would be able to hold on because, again, a lot more Republican down ballot. He outran Trump by 3% in 2020, and also he would hopefully have a cash advantage, but he does not have a cash advantage over Landsman really too much, and he has not really been too popular here as of late. Again, it's a Biden plus 8 seat, so he's a lot of new territory for him to cover, and it's a left-running seat, by the way. And in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision, like a lot of the left-running suburban seats prior to Dobbs, I could have seen going red. But Dobbs really accelerates polarization and it kind of erases a lot of that down ballot lag. And so, at this point, I think it's going to stay, or I think it's going to vote for Greg Landsman, even though he's not necessarily the best candidate, even though he doesn't have a ton of money. I think a Biden plus 8 seat won't be, it's going to be very tough here. Now, Ohio 9, this is a seat that I've had a lot of trouble with because back in May and June, I had as likely Republican. I was pretty sure Copper was going to go down by 8%. But, for the first time ever, I'm going to call her favored. And why? The Republicans pulled out of her seat last month. J.R. Majewski, their candidate, has been a disaster, for them. He has raised literally $100,000. Copper is $4 million. So she has a 40-1 cash in hand advantage. And he also lied with his military service, and he was at the Capitol on January 6th. And Copter's just a really well-known incumbent. She outran Biden by a lot in 2020. I think she's going to hold on very narrowly, by under a point. But the Republicans really don't like their chances in the seat. And I think that them pulling out of it is really bad for Majewski. Because here's the thing. He needs their money to win this seat. Because he has basically no money to spend. And Copter has a ton of money to spend. He needs Republican money. And it doesn't look like they'll be giving it to him. So Ohio 9, staying Democratic somehow. Just this is the biggest blown opportunity for the Republicans in the House all year, I think. Because they could have... They really should have won this, but looks like it's going to stay blue. Oregon, by the way, I'm keeping Oregon 4 and Oregon 6 at likely D. The fact people are moving this to lean D because of Republican internals is a disaster. Because yes, the Republican internals show closer races here. These are still Biden plus 13 seats, and they're still very left trending. So unless there's actual concrete evidence in early voting information or something like that it's going to be close, I don't think it'll be close. Oregon 6 or Oregon 5, pure toss-up here, but I think it's going to vote Democratic. Again, Jamie McLean Skinner is a more progressive type Democrat. She's not, I think the best fit for the seat, but again, it's still a Biden plus 9 seat. It's still left trending. It's still growing massively, and I think Democrats are actually because all the polls you've done here have been conducted by Republican polls, and they're showing leads for Lori Chavez DeRemer. Democrats still haven't pulled out of the seat yet. It's if they actually believe the polls, they were down 6%, they'd probably pull out, but they haven't done that. So I don't know. I don't really see a path for the Democrats to like lose this seat by anything more than 2%. That being said, Republicans still have a good chance here. Pennsylvania, so many competitive seats here. So first of all, the 10th and the 1st are. Again, the 1st district did vote for Biden in 2020, but as a really popular Republican incumbent who, again, outran Trump by like 15 points in 2020. Brian Fitzpatrick, basically unbeatable. But these other 3 seats are competitive. So first of all, 7th district is probably lean Republican at this point in time. Again, this is Susan Wild's seat. It's only a Biden plus 2 seat. It's actually only Biden plus 1, so that's really concerning for her. And Lisa Scheller is a good candidate, and yes, she has a lot of money, but she's not like the most popular incumbent. I don't really think she's the best fit for the district, so I think it's going to flip Republican. Pennsylvania 8, though. See, that I was originally very bearish on the Democrats in, but I've now moved to tilt Democratic. Matt Cartwright, it's a Trump plus 3 seat, which hurts him, but it's not like as like the thing is with other like Midwestern Trump seats, they're like pretty right trending, but this seat actually moved like I think 5% to the left between 2016 and 2020. And Matt Cartwright's a really good incumbent. He outran Biden by like I think 7 or 8% in 2020, and I think he'll do a similar thing again, winning by about a point over Jim Bogdan, who, by the way, not a good candidate. He actually has like a lot of scandals related to like Saudi Arabia and stuff, so not good for him there. Pennsylvania 17, another tilt Democratic seat here. It's a Biden plus 6 seat, open seat though, and the only thing the Republicans really have going for them here is a cash advantage. Jeremy Schaefer has a lot more money than Chris DeLujo, but it's still a left-trending seat. It's still probably going to vote for Fetterman and Shapiro. Like, by the way, having Josh Shapiro on the ballot like boosts Democrats massively in all of their seats because Josh Shapiro is probably going to be like at this point probably going to be Doug Masto on about like 5%, maybe even more. And with him outrunning Biden by a lot statewide, that boosts Democrats in all these seats, especially a suburban left-wing seat like Pennsylvania 17. So I think DeLuja wins the seat by about 2%, although, again, he does need some money. And, hopefully the Democrats he's raised more money. Rhode Island, oh boy, this is a seat that I really have a lot of fun talking about. So basically, for those of you who don't know, and by the way, I totally don't blame if you don't know because this seat is like very overrated. So this is an open seat that is Biden plus 13. Okay. And the Republicans have a good candidate here. Alan Fung, he's the mayor of a city called Cranston, which is right up here. And yes, Alan Fung, when he ran for governor in 2014, did actually win the seat, although it was very narrow. It was a third-party spoiler candidate. And in 2018, when he ran for governor, he lost it. So just to put that out there. And a lot of Republicans think he's actually going to win by a lot because he is a moderate who has a lot of appeal to Democrats in this seat. And yes, he's going to outrun Trump 1,000%. That being said, people tend to forget that Seth Magaziner, who's the former treasurer of Rhode Island, won the seat easily when he ran statewide, and he's also a good candidate. And, Alan Fung's like one of the best recruits for the Republicans this cycle, but at the end of the day, it's a Biden plus 13 seat. It's very left-running, and like in the wake of the Dobbs decision, like I think there'd be a lot of Democrats who like Alan Fung, but won't vote for him just because of the Dobbs decision, because they don't want to vote for federal Republicans. If it were like a mayoral race or like a local race, I could totally see it flipping red, but it's a federal race, and there's a difference people need to learn there. Tennessee, I don't think there's much going on there. Although I do want to say that this should be likely are because this is only like a Trump. Let me see. Tennessee 5 is a Trump plus 12 seat. I think it's going to be just under 15%. So again, Republicans have the majority now. They're at 218. We're going to see how big of a majority they're going to get though. Texas. So Texas, the only like competitive seats here are the Rio Grande Valley seats. I think Texas 15 is going to vote for the Republicans by about 7 to 8%. Again, this is a Trump plus 3 seat, but it's super left trending and the Democrats basically just pulled out of the seat last week. Michelle Vallejo is the progressive Democrat. Like, first of all, she's not really a good fit for the seat because this is a more blue dog Democrat type seat. And Vallejo is a progressive Democrat. And Democratic, like, national Democrats have kind of given up on her because they don't think they can win. So they're kind of just pulling out of the seat. Texas 28 and 34, though, I think are going to be lean Democratic. Cuellar, yes, it's a Biden plus 7 seat that did move a ton to the right between 2016 and 2020. But it's a lot more Democratic down ballot. Cassie Garcia has been fading a ton down the stretch, and Cuellar is a good incumbent, and he's raised a lot more money than I originally expected. So I do think that he's going to be able to hold on to the seat. Texas 34, again, this is kind of the reverse of Texas 28 in that the Republican has been running a much better campaign than the Democrat. Mayra Flores won that special election. Like, by the way, it wasn't even that impressive. She only outran Trump by like 10%. And yes, that might sound like a lot, but it was a special election where she outspent the Democrat like 35-1. And the Democrats literally gave up on the seat, knew she was going to win. So not great for her that she only won by like, I think 5% in a Biden plus 3 seat. And also, Dan Sanchez was not a bad candidate, but like he didn't really like it was pretty clear he was going to go down by, like the final weeks of that campaign. So, Mayra Flores, I think, is running a better race this time, even though she did win last time. She might not win this time. And by the way, Vicente Gonzalez, who is the Democratic challenger, again, these are two incumbents who've been double bunked into the same seat, is just been running a terrible campaign. Like, I think he called her election stolen. He's just not really had a ton of appeal to the area. And so, yes, I think he's still going to win just because of the partisanship of the seat, but I think he's going to underperform Biden by a lot more than Cuellar will. Because I think Cuellar wins by like 3, and I think he's going to win by like 4 or 5, despite the fact that his seat is like 8% bluer than Cuellar's. Not too much to say in Utah or Vermont. Virginia, though, got some seats here. So Virginia 7, I think, is lean D. Yes, Lee Vega made, she's the Republican here. She made a very controversial statement about abortion, which is not going to bode well in a seat like this, a super pro-choice seat, super left-trending seat. Spanberger has a lot more money than Vega does. I think she's just going to get blitzed and end up losing here. Elaine Luria, though, and Jen Kagan, this is like a pure toss-up race. I think this, like Colorado way, is going to really determine who wins the House, and I think it's going to narrowly go red. As you can see, Republicans have a majority, so I think it's going to narrowly go red. And so, yes, Kagan or Luria has a big money advantage, but it's only a Biden plus 2 seat. I know it says Biden plus 3, but it's actually Biden plus 2. I don't know why they have Biden plus 3. And it's a lot more Republican down ballot. And by the way, Glenn Youngkin won the seat by like 11% in his gubernatorial run, and I don't think it'll be anything close to that. But just goes to show how much, how a lot of Biden voters are likely to vote Republican. And yes, post Dobbs, there's like a lot of disparity there, but at the end of the day, it's still only Biden plus 2, and I still think that Kagan's gonna, she's a good candidate. She's a moderate. I think she's gonna win. Washington, again, so they moved that to okay, interesting. So Washington 3 is a Trump plus 4.5 seat, where the incumbent Democrat Jamie Herrera Butler got primaried out by Joe Kent, who's a more right-wing Republican. I think he'll win, but I think it'll be closer than it would have otherwise been. Now, Washington 8, this is interesting because Washington 8 I originally had as a lean Republican seat. But when you take a look at the primary, it was very good for Kim Schreier because she actually won, like, I think outright 50% of the vote, and primaries in Washington tend to be about 4% more Republican than the general election. It's like, I don't think she'll win by 5, but I think she'll win by, close to 2 or 3, which is, very good showing, by the way, because this is like a super down ballot seat. It's a super Republican down ballot seat. And, Schreier's been running a really good campaign, and I think the abortion issue really does boost Democrats here. Wisconsin, not too much to say here. It's only this one seat here, Wisconsin 3, which I think is going to very narrowly vote for, not very narrowly, but sorry, why did I say that? Is going to vote for Derek Van Orden. Again, Brad Pfaff is the Democratic candidate here, but they've kind of cut him off. Again, I talked about how last week we got a lot of seats that kind of were cut off by their parties. Wisconsin 3 is one of those seats for the Democrats. Brad Pfaff kind of lost funding for national Democrats because they really don't think he can win. And Derek Van Orden's a good candidate for the Republicans. And by the way, Pfaff was just not running a good campaign. He was kind of attacking Van Orden for being at the Capitol on January 6th. And like, yes, that was bad, but like the January 6th stuff is getting like really old for a lot of people. And so I think that is just, the sign of kind of an out of touch campaign. And so open seat, Trump plus 5, Democrats going to have a hard time winning it. And Brad Pfaff is not running a good enough campaign. So I think at this point, it's pretty much locked up to be a GOP flip. It'll probably be one of their easiest flips of the night. So that is it for that House map. That was a like 47-minute long video. So if you watched all of that, thank you. Again, at the end of all my House videos, I say that if you watch the entire thing, then you are certified super cool. But like, yeah, so I think the Democrats have like a 35 to 40% chance of winning the House. Like here's the thing. The House is a very Democratic friendly map because most of these seats, like the majority of House seats voted for Biden. And, like the majority of competitive House seats are left trending. And the majority of competitive House seats are really affected by the Dobbs ruling. Now, that being said, Republicans have a lot of good incumbents. It's going to be the 2020 House environment was D plus 3, and the 2020 presidential environment was D plus 4.5. I think national environment's going to be about even. Like, no matter who wins it, I think it'll be under a point, but I think even's like the average national environment for now. So that's like a uniform 3-4 point shift towards the Republicans. So yes, in a in a D plus 3 or 4 year, this House map will probably be Democratic leaning. But in a neutral year or an R plus 1 year, it's going to be a bit more Republican. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, but what I said in the video, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.